I'm going to play my other video. The one that I wanted to play is the one on student loans from Joy Ann Reid because it's quite funny the way she addressed some folks on the right that had a few things to say. Check this out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
This asinine, I want to pay off student debt, is an insult to the senior citizens, to the people who pay taxes, to people who decide, do I want to buy meat this week or pay for my medicine? That's hogwash. You got so many jobs, you got a great economy, let them work and pay off their bills just the way all of us do.
Well, that's certainly rich. Coming from someone whose judicial campaign owed $600,000 in unpaid bills for more than a decade, but okay. Jeanine Pirro is unfortunately not the only person on the right with a bad take on student loans as President Biden considers forgiving some student debt. Laura Ingraham tweeted, "My mom worked as a waitress until she was 73 to help pay for our college, even help with loan repayment. Loan forgiveness, just another insult to those who play by the rules." Now, I will note that back in the 80s, before she became a Fox News star, Laura, who graduated from the Ivy League Dartmouth College in 1985, then University of Virginia Law School in 1991, worked for a top New York law firm as a speechwriter in the Reagan administration and as a clerk for Justice Clarence Thomas. Way to look out for your mom while still letting her pay off your student loans by slinging hash as a waitress into her 70s instead of just picking up the tab for her, Laura. But you know what? I feel like Laura actually did us a huge favor by explaining modern conservatism in a nutshell perfectly. Just put the working class on the wheel, even if they're family, while the affluent and the rich eat. And while they may be cruel, Republicans aren't dumb. They know that if President Biden and Democrats actually do something about student debt, it could activate young and progressive voters who overwhelmingly prefer Democrats when they vote. And so they have introduced a bill to try to block Biden from doing just that. But what about voters in the middle who say, hey, I paid off my loan, so other people should be able to do it as well? Well, see, that argument is usually presented without a lot of context. Take this report from Georgetown, which points out that today, 2 out of 3 jobs require an education beyond a high school diploma. While in the 1970s, 3 out of 4 jobs required a high school diploma or less. So a college degree is not a luxury. It's a necessity for most people who want to earn decent wages. It is a literal ladder into the middle class. But the price of college has skyrocketed. From 1980 to 2019, the cost increased by 169%. That is not a typo. While worker pay for those aged 22 to 27 years of age has increased by just 19%. That is the mismatch, y'all. You need the degree, but the degree puts you into so much debt you still can't get ahead. And that means that your contributions to the economy are also limited. That is how we've gotten to a world where 43 million Americans collectively owe $1.7 trillion in student debt. That is a number that is only going to keep rising.
Now, one of the reasons why I strongly believe that we should pay off I don't mind paying off everybody's student debt, even those who would kind of get away with murder, right? The rich folks who took it out and put it, because it's too complicated to try to means test people and all that kind of stuff. But the vast majority of people who have student loans, they need the support. But, the wedge issue people would allow all those poor people who need the student loans paid off or who would otherwise go to college. They need to create some sort of a friction between the haves, the support, the haves and the haves, or rather, the have-nots and the have-somes, right? That's what they want to do. And that's why you see some people say, well, look, I paid off my student loan. Why don't you pay yours off? Let me give an example. I came here to the States, and in my last year and a half, 2 years, I was able to get student loans because by then I'd become a resident. And I paid off my entire student loan, right? And do I feel because I paid off my student loan that something is wrong with those who have a whole bunch of debt not to have had theirs paid off? No. And I don't, first of all, it doesn't bother me, but here's what's the kicker. I wish the same people who really were concerned about paying off other people's student debt would realize what that really is. And I want to enumerate it quite simply. When I went to school and I paid for a foreign student at the time, I paid $40 an hour. And when I got in resident, I paid $4 an hour. All right. I took out a student loan at that point in time to help pay pay that college. The kicker is the kids today, the corporations pay so much less in taxes that the amount of money that they're going to have to contribute towards their own education is humongous. And to the Ayn Randian Republican person, they'll say, well, that's their education. They should pay for it. It's for them. And that's where our capitalist structure has really screwed up their thinking. Because if you went to get an education so that you could establish your own company, I would understand that, right? Think about it. If I got an education in college and just formed my company and worked solely for my company, that would be fine. But as an American, or as most Americans should know, we get an education. And Mr. Eric Hayes, you may want to listen this, stop writing, listen, and try to absorb and analyze, please, and then come back with a response. One of the reasons that we have a problem communicating many times is as one is speaking, the other one is trying to come back with an answer without absorbing and analyzing what that person is saying. So let's continue. When you go to work, or rather go and get a college education and you pay your education in full, or you have to take out loans, you are subsidizing companies. I want to show you how capitalism abstract things and make you think not wisely. Eric just says, Egberto, most companies subsidize your education. That's false. That is provably false. And it also shows a level of elitism, right? If you work for a company like, let's say, Microsoft or all of these, you can actually have the company send you to school, but you are some factory worker or you don't get those opportunities, right? But let's forget about that for now. Let's just talk about in general. Corporations need a steady flow of educated people to do the work. When you go out there and pay for your education yourself, you are coming to that corporation basically with the skills necessary to learn to do that particular job. If you hadn't, that corporation would have had to invest in you to give you the skills to bring you up to speed to be able to do the work at that corporation. But we, yourself, by paying for it, and the state subsidized that corporation by getting you educated. There was a time there was a balance. There was a time that corporations paid enough taxes that I could, or the person in the 1970s, 1980s could pay $4 an hour for education. Check out what an education in a public university costs you now. In UCLA, UC system used to be free for California residents. Look at what they have to pay now. Look at what they have to pay now. So we are subsidizing corporations. But for those people who take out loans, it's even deeper. Before Obamacare, before they took the public funding by banks of student loans away from the thieves, meaning the banks, this is what used to happen. The bank would loan you money that they charged you interest for, that was guaranteed by the government. So here we had banks charging you interest for a student loan that you paid back to the bank. Corporations, again, were making money on both ends. They make money because you had to borrow to go to school and then pay them interest. And they made money from not having to educate you to do the job. Corporations are the biggest welfare recipients in America. But it is done in such a manner that they make you feel like they're doing you a favor. So that somebody like Eric Hayes can come and say, corporations subsidize you. No! We are subsidizing corporations with our education. We subsidize corporations in so many different ways. it's just framed in such a manner that they make you believe like you owe them something when it's the complete other way around. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.